We quit for a reason. We feel underpaid for a reason. But what if I told you the problem runs much deeper than bad bosses or low wages? What if the modern workplace isn't just broken, but is actually a system designed to encourage and require acts of evil? Today we're going to deconstruct how the corporate machine systematically pressures us to sacrifice our moral integrity. We'll start with the very first interaction, the interview. This isn't merely a conversation, it's the initial handshake with a system, the first subtle test of our compliance. From that first carefully worded answer, we begin a journey. We'll trace this path through the sterile corridors of onboarding, the first ethically ambiguous task, and the 1,000 tiny compromises that follow, leading us to a quiet, personal reckoning where we try to justify the week's actions to ourselves. But this isn't just about bad management or toxic bosses. That's a surface-level diagnosis. We're going deeper. This is about the propitiation, the appeasement, of a pervasive yet impersonal evil. An evil that thrives not in overt malice, but in the mundane, the bureaucratic, the unquestioning adherence to the ritual of business as usual. This ritual, with its empty jargon and endless procedures, is a powerful anesthetic, designed to numb us to the moral concessions we make daily. We will deconstruct how this system slowly chips away at our core values, not through grand ultimatums, but through the slow, creeping normality of ethical erosion. It's a process so gradual we often don't notice the ground shifting beneath our feet. By the end of this video, you'll see how your workplace may be asking not just for your time and skills, but for a piece of your very soul, demanding you trade authenticity for acceptance. Let's start with the interview process. This isn't about finding competence. It's psychological theater designed to test your willingness to compromise. The setup itself is intentionally unnerving. The waiting, the panel of judges, the vague questions that have nothing to do with the actual job. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This tests your ability to provide a pleasing, fabricated narrative, not your job skills. Candidates are expected to exaggerate, hide weaknesses, and present a perfect, fictionalized version of themselves. You're forced to choose between integrity and opportunity. The first lesson a company teaches you is that honesty is a liability. You enter the organization having already practiced deception for its benefit. The corruption has begun. Then comes the moment of salary negotiation. And I use that word with the heaviest of air quotes, because what follows is rarely a negotiation. It's a bad faith bargain, a carefully staged piece of corporate theater. Most employees enter this arena from a position of profound weakness, pitted against a system designed for one purpose: to minimize their cost. The company holds all the cards. They have access to market data, internal salary bands, a firm budget, and they know what everyone else is paid. And you know what you need to survive. This isn't a negotiation between equals. It's a supplicant asking for terms. And let's be clear about human resources. HR is not your friend. Their primary function is to protect the company from risk. They are the friendly face of a system engineered to extract maximum value for minimum cost. Here's the ugly, unvarnished truth. Executives have a legal fiduciary duty to maximize profit for shareholders. Your salary is a liability, a cost to be ruthlessly minimized. Therefore, they cannot, by definition, operate in good faith towards you if good faith means paying you maximum fair value. Their duty is to the shareholder, not the employee. So the negotiation becomes a managed process. They start with a lowball offer. Then they allow for a slight adjustment, creating the powerful illusion of choice, making you feel like you've won something. But all you've done is move from their predetermined low point to their slightly less low point. The game was rigged from the start. It's a bad faith game from the very start. And once you're inside, things get much worse. Because now you're not just a cost, you're a resource to be exploited. You are subjected to and often become complicit in systems of clear, tangible evil. We have a sanitized term for this: office politics. But let's call it what it is: a daily grind of psychological abuse. Let's break down this catalog of mundane horrors. Constant overload, where your workload is intentionally impossible. forcing you to sacrifice your life for the company's bottom line. Manufactured urgency, where every task is a 5-alarm fire, creating perpetual anxiety and preventing critical thought. There's soul-crushing micromanagement, eroding your autonomy and signaling a fundamental lack of trust. There are moving goalposts, ensuring you always feel like you're failing. There's the casual theft of your ideas and credit, poisoning collaboration. There's the denial of earned promotions based on vague feedback like not being a culture fit, code for you're not in the club. And then there are the more sinister tactics, nepotism, rewarding sycophants over competent professionals, rotting the organization from within. And finally, pure vindictiveness. This is targeted harassment, social exclusion, and the insidious poison of gaslighting, where your perception of reality is systematically undermined. This is reserved for anyone who dares to speak out, to question the narrative. Now, I'm using the word evil deliberately. This isn't mustache-twirling villainy. This is something far more common. What the political theorist Hannah Arendt called the banality of evil. Observing the trial of Nazi officer Adolf Eichmann, Arendt was shocked to find he wasn't a monster. He was a bureaucrat, a functionary. His defining characteristic was not hatred, but a profound thoughtlessness. He was just following orders. This is the evil of the modern workplace. It's the ordinary manager following the rules of their system, carrying out acts of cruelty without feeling they're doing anything wrong. They are insulated by a shield of justifications. I have to cut costs, they say as they sign layoff papers. I need to protect my team, they rationalize, while covering up incompetence. This person is a problem, they declare, as they manage out a whistleblower. Sound familiar? The psychological mechanics are well documented. In the 1960s, Stanley Milgram's obedience experiments showed that ordinary people would administer what they believed were painful electric shocks to a stranger, simply because an authority figure in a lab coat told them to. The authority of the boss, the pressure of the market, the demands of the shareholder, these serve the exact same purpose as Milgram's man in the lab coat. They provide a justification to abdicate personal conscience. This is compounded by a diffusion of responsibility. When a decision is made by a committee or handed down from corporate, no single individual feels the full weight of the moral consequences. We outsource our moral responsibility to the system itself. And then we tell ourselves the most dangerous lie of all: I have no choice. But here's the real kicker, the final trick our minds play. To live with this profound cognitive dissonance, the chasm between I am a good person and I am participating in a harmful system, we engage in moral fraud, pure compartmentalization. We erect a mental wall between our professional actions and our personal identity, using a mantra of thought-terminating cliches. It's just business. This phrase creates a separate moral universe where decency doesn't apply. I'm just doing my job. This is the Eichmann defense, the timeless excuse of the functionary. I have no choice. This is the lie of the powerless, spoken by the powerful. This constant participation inflicts a deep wound on the psyche, a wound psychologists call moral injury. It's the damage that occurs when you are forced to transgress your own moral code. To cope, we create a work self and a real self. And so, the same person who is a loving parent, a pillar of their community, can walk into the office on Monday and sign off on a plan that will devastate families. The same person who goes to church on Sunday seeking absolution then participates in exploitation the very next day. Their faith, their charity, their identity as a good person becomes a wash cycle for their conscience. It's a ritual of propitiation, the appeasement of guilt without changing the underlying behavior. It's buying a moral indulgence that allows the evil to continue, unchanged. And this self-deception has to stop, because evil, true, banal, soul-crushing evil, doesn't always wear a mask. More often, it looks like a quarterly report demanding impossible growth. It looks like a performance review filled with weaponized feedback. And it looks like a paycheck, the quiet, regular reward for your complicity. Your job can ask for your time, your skills, your energy. That's the contract. But the contract is broken when the demands creep into the territory of your conscience. It often starts subtly, a directive to mislead a customer, or to stay quiet about a safety concern. These aren't presented as ethical tests, but as small tests of loyalty, of being a team player. They are the first cracks in the dam of your integrity. The moment your job asks for your silence in the face of wrongdoing, your participation in exploitation, or the sacrifice of your moral core, it's asking for too much. It's asking for a piece of you. This is the inevitable outcome of a system built on a single, flawed commandment: shareholder primacy. This ideology insists that a company's only duty is to maximize profit, creating a moral vacuum where human decency and ecological responsibility are treated as inconvenient obstacles or PR opportunities. We are taught to sanitize this reality with language, calling exploitation disruption or cruelty efficiency. You cannot serve both this cold calculus and your own soul. The most radical act, then, is one of clarity. It is to finally see the evil as evil, stop calling it business, and reject the premise that your humanity is a liability. It is to demand better, not just for yourself, but for everyone.